Just let you guys know, there's another Pika Pika workshop going on, so if you haven't seen it, feel free to go ahead and check it out. But next, I'm going to bring out the co-editor of Giant Robot. His name is Martin Wong, and Starpower's folks. Give a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. Well, this show, or this panel, is kind of an extension of what we've been talking about. The entertainment business, it's always given Asian Americans the shaft. Like we saw in the video, Bruce Lee got bounced for David Carradine, Sulu never got laid, and Anna May Wong, she had to go to Europe for decent roles, right? But today, Asians are finally getting noticed, but not necessarily on the shelves of Blockbuster or pages of People. New media, artistic genres, and forms of entertainment, as well as the globalization of culture, are providing alternative outlets. The four guests on this panel are working towards a common goal of making Asians matter, even if that's not their main intent. They're just going about their work, not worrying about ethnicity. Or are they? Here they come. I don't know if we're going to show videos first, or...
Yeah, we should just... Yeah.
Go for it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is Justin. Some people try to get on camera, but Justin actually became one by strapping a lens onto his head and broadcasting his experiences online. The footage is not contrived like the real life or
And I was
like the Osbournes, but it's more gripping because it's real. And since launching earlier this year, the site has been expanded to include a crew of live casters across the country. So that's Justin. See, that's very real. Just like this. And let's see what comes up next. Daniel Wu. He flew in from Hong Kong. He went to Hong Kong in '97 from the US in 1997 to visit relatives and check out the handover, but ran out of cash. So to get by, he took some modeling gigs, and those became acting jobs. Following up on those breaks with a lot of hard work, he's become one of Asia's top actors and a respected filmmaker. His first effort, The Heavenly Kings, won Best New Director in this year's Hong Kong Film Awards. And he's also a Giant Robot reader, so bonus points. Let's see what comes up next. Oh, look at that shoulder. Pretty good. I wonder if he plays softball. Should I take a... Oh, this is a preview for his movie, The Promise. Or The Banquet, I'm sorry. Andy Wang, mixed martial artist. Oh, well, you can imagine. Flashback to what you saw a second ago. But after practice at University of Hawaii, where he's a running back, Andy would go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu studios to roll on the mats. And since then, he's trained with some of the top fighters in mixed martial arts. He also opened a mixed martial arts school in Taiwan, and he's appeared on the Ultimate Fighter TV show, where he was definitely one of the most talked about contestants. And Dan fights too, actually.
Are they gonna fight?
He was a wushu guy. And the last guy is Dan the Automator, another Dan. Am I talking too fast? I think so.
They're working on the movie.
All right, let's talk about Dan the Automator after this UFC Ultimate Fighter promo. You can tell he's a force to be reckoned with. One of the reasons he was on the show was to provide a different look at Asian Americans, which is very cool. It's hard. Well, it's a very good view because he's just wearing those tights. That's not him, that's him. When we were in back, he said that hanging out back there is kind of like before a fight, where you'd go to the green room and everything. Yeah. But he wasn't doing push-ups or anything. He was chilling with the other guys, so I don't know if we're going to get any action. But that's Andy Wang out of Torrance. He's also a high school teacher, so he has a brain. He's a very smart guy. Dan Nakamura, the Automator. He became a hip-hop god when he produced Dr. Octagon's mind-blowing, influential debut, and he went on to make albums with the likes of Del the Funky Homo Sapien and Prince Paul from A Tribe Called Quest. He expanded his resume by masterminding key releases by a range of rock artists, including the Gorillaz, John Spencer Blues Explosion, and Shibo Mato. Today, you can see him on the cover of genre-breaking albums such as Handsome Boy Modeling School and Lovage. So let's bring these guys out. The two bands. Representing Asian America, whether they like it or not.
Let Justin get the nice seat over there.
All right, so we have these four handsome men. And I think I'll start off by asking them a couple questions, and then we'll open it up to Q&A after that. So, Justin, since you're on the end there, let's start with you.
Okay. Oh. So, I need a mic.
Oh yeah, we got some mics here.
All right.
Well, those mics are used to sharing. It's okay. Yeah, these two here. So anyway, tell me, was public exposure, something that you aspired to, or was it something that was just necessary to further that business of Justin.tv? Maybe you can talk about it a little bit too.
Yeah, well, so Justin.tv started off as like a live streaming broadcast of my life, 24/7 to the internet. And honestly, it was just like this crazy idea I had. I was never like really wanted to be an actor or anything like that. It wasn't really like I wanted to be famous. It was just, we thought of this idea. It was the craziest thing I never thought of, and I was like, I'm gonna go do that. Because everyone said that, that's the stupidest thing I've ever thought of. So I wanted to prove them all wrong. And yeah, so it started off like that, and now we've kind of turned Justin.tv into a broadcast platform for anyone to broadcast, kind of like YouTube for live video. And through having a show that's been a really easy media story, we've gotten a lot of attention on the site, and a lot of people come to the site. So yeah, it's kind of been a good bootstrap into building up website traffic.
But what about you, as like this Asian American guy who's being thrust out, into the public eye or whatever? Like, were there specific moments when you grappled with being known or being seen?
Yeah, well, nothing that really had to do with being Asian American, I guess, but being in the public eye like all the time is kind of unsettling. Sometimes someone called 911 on us really early on, and like the cops busted into our apartment with their guns drawn, which was, I was too scared to shit myself. So yeah, it's definitely had some like crazy moments, but overall it's been pretty awesome.
What about people that you encounter at the supermarket? Like, do they freak out when you have a camera on your head, or do they start acting or something, or give you a headshot, anything like that?
Well, at first I thought, people would be really freaked out. It actually turns out, only 1 in maybe 30 people are really like, oh, I don't want to be on camera, and hide themselves. But most people are pretty excited to do it, and it's cool because it's like an icebreaker for talking to anyone.
So it doesn't scare anyone away. It just brings out their inner freaks, kind of. Huh?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, cool. Well, let's move on to Andy, cruising around here. And
all right.
Can you tell me about you got a lot of notoriety on that TV show Ultimate Fighter. Can you talk about comparing that scene, of something like mixed martial arts to organized college football, which you also did? Was there a difference as far as like, I don't know, being an Asian participant maybe? Or?
I'll say this, like, I think there's a lot of, just going through football and going through UFC, there's a lot of stereotypes about, Asians. While I was in high school, in math class and computer class, everybody wants to sit next to me. Little did they know, I was the worst one in there. But, yeah, so, there's, the thing is, like, martial arts originated from Asia. My grandfather, when I was young, taught me Tai Chi. And that's how it started for me, and he used to tell me, this is where it came from, And the one thing, I wanted to try to get across was, of course, Asians, they made a lot of great contributions to America. There's a lot of good, there are obviously a lot of smart Asians, just like there's a lot of smart other types of people, but, I also want to show that we're integrated in the sports too, we're integrated in other aspects of life. So, yeah, coming up through football, there's always there's a Chinese guy that plays football, and then, same thing with the UFC, like, there was never an Asian guy on the Ultimate Fighter before. You know, I was on the 5th season, so you know, I took a lot of pride and gratification in trying to you know, open up some doors. You know, try to get people to see that, you know, we're not just NASA scientists. We do other things as well.
Well, I am, but you know, I think that MMA fans, mixed martial arts fans, they're different than typical celebrity gossipers. You know, they think they can fight you, kind of, and everyone thinks they know how to beat you up and
Yeah, man.
make you submit.
Yeah, it's weird. You know, like being on the show, I thought you know, they told us we'd be recognized and stuff, and what's kind of weird is like I only get recognized by guys that want to beat me up. So I'm waiting for, you know, the girls come up to me and all that stuff. That hasn't happened yet. But yeah, you know, it's strange. You know, the thing, how the UFC's captured people's imaginations is that, you know, everybody that's ever been in a fight in their life, you know, everybody's gotten fights 6th grade, 7th grade. You know, they think they know about fighting. So I think it's really captured a lot of people's imaginations. So, you know, I'll be walking down the street and guys will come up to me like, oh man, you know, like, you know, you should have done this and this and this, and I'll be like, you know, I'm like, man, you know, I just want to eat my donuts, you know, like, I don't care, you know. So yeah, you know, it's been an interesting experience. You know, the one thing about the UFC is it's such a huge viewership. Like almost everybody has either seen or heard the UFC at this point. And I came in at a good time, which was, like I said, there hasn't been a whole lot of Asians. BJ Penn, his mother's Korean. Brandon Vera, he's Filipino heritage. So you know, Asians started making a presence. And I definitely, I want to play a role in that. You know what I mean? I want to bring the mainstream idea that, you know, like I said, Asians are multi-talented, and we're doing a lot of things. You know, playing sports, doing all that stuff.
What about, like you said, that people approach you that want to fight you? Is that really? Are you serious?
Oh yeah. You know, it's weird. Like I said, a lot of people. The one thing I've seen a lot is like everybody. Yeah, they'll come up to me and try to convince me that they could have been in the UFC too. And like I said, honestly, guys, I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care. I just want to enjoy my pizza. You know, I just want to hang out. But like, yeah, you'll go somewhere, guys come up. Oh, you know what? Oh man, when I was 12 in 6th grade, I was undefeated. And I was like, yeah, that's good, man. That's why you're missing some teeth. I don't know. You know what I mean? So you know, the weird thing is, like I said, the UFC now isn't what it was before. A lot of people think of the UFC as the old days, like Tank Abbott. It's gone now. We're professional athletes. You know, I was a history teacher by trade. I'm in graduate school. My goal is to become a principal. So, you know, I'm caught in that dichotomy as well, you know, the paradox, you know, like, you know, all you guys are Asian, you know what I'm talking about, like, you know, you grow up and it's school, go learn how to play the piano a little bit, things like that. And, you know, it wasn't until I was on, you know, national TV, 20 million people watching the show, my parents just found out that I fight professionally, like last week, you know what I mean? And so, you know, my mom's like shocked, bro. She's like, you know, and typical Chinese parents, you know, my mom, sorry, am I taking up all the time here? Sorry. Well, I got a lot to say. Anyways. It's, you know, so my mom, you know, typical Chinese, my mom's like, oh, what about your brain? You're gonna be a vegetable, you know, and like, and I'm like, no, I can still read and write, it's okay, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know, like a lot of us were caught up in that thing. Like I said, we get pressure from our parents to excel in school, to, you know, go to a good college, go be a professional. And so, you know, it's hard for Asians to tell their parents, hey, I want to do something else, I want to fight, or I want to do this. So I'm hoping, you know, like through, you know, mediums like this and through being on the show, I can, you know, hopefully I know there's a lot of people out there that want to be more mainstream, you know, society, you know, like sports and music and things like that. My intro music I always use is Jin, the rapper Jin, and the song I use is I'm Chinese. Like I said, just get people out there to know that, yeah, there's Chinese rappers, there's Chinese musicians, there's a lot of things,
But
you know. And
how did you explain your cauliflower ear to your mom?
you'll like this, guys. Get out your notebooks, get out your tape recorders. No, actually, yeah, I got cauliflower ear, which is you get it through wrestling, and your ear gets really big. And so my mom, I went to school in Hawaii, so my mom's like, what happened to your ear? And of course I can't tell her I was fighting, but I told her I went out and I was swimming out in Hawaii and something bit me in my ear. And then after that she's like, I don't ever want to see you swimming again. So like I'm banned from going to the ocean. But yeah, you know, like it's tough, you know, because like I said, Asians, like I said, every, you know, I see my parents every now and then, they're always like, well, are you finishing school? Are you doing this and this? And you know, like, but you know, right now the UFC is my dream come true. You know, I started doing this when I was 19. You know, I'm 30 now. It took me 10 years to get here, and I don't plan on going away anytime soon.
All right. Well, let's talk to Daniel Wu for a second. And it's not like you traveled to Hong Kong with the goal of becoming a star. You know, tell me, how have you come to grips with, I don't know, becoming a celebrity there? That must be pretty weird.
I guess it was a slow process because it started off, I guess, in a very simple way. Sorry, I'm kind of a jet lag. I flew in from I was in Venice for the film festival, then flew into Toronto, and I left this morning at 5 a.m. after finishing a party at 2 a.m.
You're always
I'm a little bit slurred of speech, but I might have a little bit of slurred of speech right now. But no, I mean, adjusting to that life is difficult. It's weird because in Asia it's different. It's different than here. What they see in celebrities is an overall entertainer, which is what I'm not. I'm just an actor, you know. And what I mean by overall entertainer is that these people will, they're singers, they're pop singers, they do TV, they do movies, they do advertising, they model, they do everything. So trying to be forced to do all those things in the beginning was what I tried to resist a little bit, because I was really only interested in movies. And then once you establish that, then I think people understand you better, and then it becomes a slow process where people look at you as the actor and not as this pop star, you know, idol thing. But it was hard to try to break out of that.
But were there any moments like when you're all, holy crap, I'm a star now, you know, or like you're at the supermarket or something, or whatever? I don't know.
I don't know, because I didn't really ever have like a huge breakout, whereas like all of a sudden I became popular. It was, like I said, it was gradual. But it's weird sometimes. Like I'm in China, in Beijing or in Shanghai, and you forget sometimes, and you're walking around, and then all these kids are running up to you or whatever, and or you're in the airport, and people are asking for autographs and all that kind of stuff. It's weird because it kind of is my culture, but it isn't my culture. I didn't grow up there, and so the way that people react is a lot very different than what people react here. Whereas people come and say, "Hey, I like your films," blah blah. It's not like that in China or in Asia. People come running up to you, and you hear this. You're walking down the street, and you hear this running up behind you, and then they're like following you around, and then you, it's like scary. It's a little scary. So I'm always like looking around behind me, like someone's gonna rob me or something, but actually it's some fans. So I guess that's the.
Like maybe it's better to be served late, but not deal with paparazzi, you know?
Yeah, something like that. Or, you know, I don't mind waiting in line, you know, for something. It's okay. I'm having a hard time talking about this celebrity thing, Martin.
Well, let's move
I
on.
thought we were talking about like creativity stuff.
That's the next panel. This is the main panel.
Okay. All right.
This is my
Keep
job,
going.
I'm sorry.
No, but yeah, I mean, things are changing now. I mean, this time in Toronto, I mean, there were hundreds of fans there. And, you know, I don't travel outside of Asia that much, so it was kind of cool to see that and to have that support, you know.
Like white people watching you? So.
Both, it was mixed. I mean, it was mostly Asian Canadians there in Toronto. This is the first time I ever heard that term. I usually hear Asian Americans, and I always assume that included Canada. But these Canadians don't want to be associated with America, so I guess they're called Asian Canadians. But yeah, I mean, it was about half and half, and then there was a lot of, you know, I think a lot of Westerners are getting, or you know, American people now are getting more and more attuned to Asian film because we see all these big films that come out now, like, you know, Hero and House of Flying Daggers and stuff like that. So they're now starting to know, you know, Asian stars now, and so my anonymity is getting less and less.
All right, well, speaking of anonymous people who are in the front now, let's talk to Dan, the automator.
Hello.
And I know you were behind the scenes on a lot of critical and, you know, big hits. But was pushing yourself to the forefront something you had to do, kind of, for your career path, or a way to get the jobs you wanted, or what?
Yeah, I think I'm a record producer. I make or direct bands or produce music, can make music, but I don't sing or anything like that. So a personality to put with the music, especially when there's electronics involved, I think is kind of important. So I didn't really put myself in front, it just kind of happened. I mean, I like to be able to just go do my thing. And, you know. I mean, really the only reason I'm here is because Eric's my cousin.
But there's a difference between you and, you know, Dr. Octagon, where no one knows what the heck you look like, and then seeing you on the cover of Want to Buy a Monkey or something, you know?
Well, it was just over a period of time as I was making records, even from the very beginning, like when I was making records and I wasn't the fun person like Dr. Octagon and Corner Shop, these records ended up being really pretty big and they had their own lives and people were curious because they were kind of different. So by the first 3 or 4 years I started being in front of the Handsome Boy Modeling School, we were in front of the record by that point, and and then we're back behind it with gorillas or whatever. But like, it wasn't. I'm a record producer, but I'm somehow a personality, I guess. And even though I'm not really a personality by trade or whatever, it just kind of ended up being that way.
Well, I would say that with that 2K7 soundtrack, it's almost like you're a brand name, you know? It's like the Automator presents.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, I guess that's true. It's over the, I guess, you know, it's like a hallmark of quality. Like if you go, okay, this person made this record, or like you go, Quincy Jones made this record or whatever, you might not know what he looked like because the front man in Starpower was bigger than now. A lot of groups, they have a record or two, or things just happen, so like the musical element becomes such a bigger component than maybe it was when there was maybe more true musical stars. I'll be on the streets with people that, you know, sell millions of records, and if you're in certain neighborhoods, people recognize them. If you're in other places, no one knows at all. You know, so it kind of can be random. I mean, I've seen more crazy fans walking around the street with him than like, you know, with some guy who sold like several million records. You know.
Well, let's say the Automator, you know, it is kind of like a brand. What do you think it stands for, besides just a cool dude who likes to eat good food? You know, like, what does it mean?
I don't know. It's kind of like, I like to think of it as, in the basis of terms, it's like a seal of quality. Like you're gonna know it's gonna be a certain kind of record, quality-wise, and hopefully, people who like them will continue to like the other ones. So it's kind of a way to. When I was growing up with records, certain groups were something I would follow, but also like certain musicians or artists that work with certain groups or producers, even though I wasn't really quite aware of how it all worked. Like, but they have a connection to somebody. That's how I do it. In what I do, I think, even though it could be rock to jazz to hip hop kind of thing, certain people can follow the path through, and other people can follow a little bit of the path and not be into it. But at least they can recognize maybe a little bit where it's coming from.
You mean like Brian Eno would do some crazy experimental stuff, but he'd also do rock, and you check that out just because it's...
Right, and some people might not be into the experimental thing, but other people will, but they'll at least be knowing it's coming from a certain mindset, a certain kind of person is putting it all together. And like I said, for me, it was like over a period of years and records coming out that people started to recognize a certain sound that they were into. As a very small group of people. I hope it's, you know, bigger and bigger, but like, it allows people to like get into something where they know there's going to be something about it they may like, or at least pique their interest, I guess.
Okay, well, let's try to somehow see if these four guys who have achieved this level of success in their different fields have what they have in common, or, you know, where they connect as far as breaking through, you know, in these, you know, not necessarily mainstream or obvious ways of, you know, gaining fame or notoriety, and you know, their thoughts on it and so forth. So I was wondering, first of all, I'll throw these questions out to all of you guys, and you can just jump in. Like, how do you measure your success in your respective fields? And does mainstream fame mean anything to you guys? And by mainstream, I mean, you know, Walmart, or, you know, like, Extra, you know, that sort of thing. Versus, you know, the hip blogs, or whatnot.
Money.
That's a good start.
No, I mean, I don't mean in making money, but like when they put money behind stuff and money is involved with it, it reaches a larger audience. And like, when a record gets big, for example, for me, it doesn't mean I'm making more money, but it just means that it's being pushed harder and further out there, so it reaches a different demographic.
Well, there's no money in fighting, so every time I go there and I fight, and I put aside 3 months of my life, and I'm getting hit in the head, somewhere in the middle of a fight, I'll think to myself, I should have stayed in school. I've been pretty good.
I think this is the first time I've seen a fighter without having brands all over him. Like, shouldn't you be wearing, you know, some brand on your butt right now?
Well, it's funny you should say that. Actually, you know what? I did want to illustrate like the example of what I'm trying to do as far as branding myself. Thanks, and I think everybody here can probably agree. Like, we're not here by ourselves. Like, people helped us at certain points in our career. There's like what I do is an individual thing. I think acting, you know, you only see him, but there's so many people that go into it. And so for me, there's a company, it's called ACK. They help me. They have the same vision as I do as far as trying to get, you know, fighting more mainstream, more accepted. And, you know, one of the shirts that I made, like, for this last fight, the UFC, like I said, the viewership's out there. And if you can, I can't read Chinese, but this is what my HCK guy says. But on there you see it says yellow danger or yellow peril. So one of the things why I got in the UFC was when they asked me for my nickname, I said, well, it's yellow danger. And if you, those guys that follow history, you guys know, like, you know, what Asians have gone through in this country, man. You know, it's unreal. And so, you know, all of us here, Asian Americans that can read and write and speak English, it's because, you know, a huge process. So through fighting, you know, I'm trying to like, you know, get that out, that, you know, Asians have gone through a lot. And, you know, we're here now in the UFC, we're here acting, we're here producing records. Justin here, he's freaking people out. You know, you know, we're doing things now because, like, people, you know, like we've worked hard to get here, man. You know, think of the laws that were in place that prevented Japanese from going to school in San Francisco, things like that. And yeah, it's unreal, you know.
But I think like all four of us here are in what we're doing because we have a passion for it. And then the success or the celebrity or all that other stuff, the commodity, the value of it comes afterwards. Because if you don't have that passion and you're just trying to sell it, then you're just like another Paris Hilton. You know what I mean? Which is fine if you want to do that. But I think we're all like pretty passionate about what we're doing from what I hear. I mean, I just met these two guys. I've known Dan for a while now. But I see everybody has a passion for what they're doing. And if you have that, and then you go and try to sell that, then it just becomes a more substantial product that you have.
Actually, Justin, maybe you can help us out, because I can see, like, you can tell when a record is badass, you know, sounds great, London Calling or whatever, right? Takes a nation of millions. You know, Dan, movies, you know, Last Night in Bangkok, whatever, you know, there's so many good movies. And then, you know, a fight, you know when it's solid. But tell me about how can you make perfect, real life webcam, you know?
Yeah, so, you know,
How do
just
you do
not
that?
TV is like, it can be kind of boring sometimes. It's like me sleeping for 10 hours, 12 hours a day. And, you know, people don't really want to watch that much. But for us, fame is really like a bootstrap. You know, I've got 3 guys who work with me, my 3 best friends. And I couldn't, like, you know, like we were saying, I couldn't have done that without them. And so I've always considered myself more of an entrepreneur. And the fame of, like, Justin.tv or me being, like, kind of this internet celebrity has really allowed us to, you know, push Justin.tv as a brand, as like a website for broadcasting out there, and like really improve the content. As more people broadcast, you know, more hours of their day, you know, there's something interesting going on that's not me sleeping. So, you know, I think we're kind of trying to go for like a YouTube type effect where we get a lot of people coming to the site and then they in turn produce something interesting, and then the best stuff floats to the top.
It's kind of good that your name wasn't like Bob or something, because, you know, Justin can be, you know, this Justin or whatever, right? So it's not necessarily just about you.
Yeah, well, people, you know, that's one of the things. When we first started Justin.tv, it was supposed to be just this experiment and see what happens, and it was like all about me. And in some selfish way, I'm kind of happy that stuck around, and now we can't really change the name. They were talking about changing the name, and it's like, no, we gotta Justin.tv. People go to the website, but if we change the name, they won't know about it.
But I think that, I mean, why people maybe like what he does is because it takes a certain commitment to put this freaking camera on you for 24 hours a day and let everyone see that.
There's a backpack
and
involved also.
It kind of deserves a certain amount of respect, you know.
It's right here, the backpack. I usually wear a hat, but I gave my last one to Brian Lamb like a couple weeks ago. I actually wore this backpack around before. It was like this small. It was like 35 pounds or something. And I was wearing it around for like 6 months. My back sucks.
Well, let's talk a little bit. I mean, you guys kind of touched on ethnicity, but is being Asian and making it, is that like an FU to mainstream culture at all for you guys? I mean,
It's the opposite for me because I'm in a culture where it's all Asians. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking about being an Asian every day in my business because everybody's Asian. You know. In fact, when I first got to Hong Kong, people called me white boy. You know? So I had like the reverse of what you guys are all experiencing. But then now, like, you know, I'm being, you know, some people are asking me to try and come back to the States and do work and stuff like that. And then now, after having worked in this business for 10 years, now I have to start thinking about, oh, my identity as an Asian, you know. And I think, you know what, at the end of the day, it's like, if you're good at what you do, it don't matter what color you are or whatever. And if you have the confidence in what you do, it's fine, you know. So I don't try and think about the Asian issue too much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that actually, because I'm more of an entrepreneur, and in Silicon Valley, like, you know, you two had Steve Chen, who's like Asian. Like lots of the companies are actually started by Asians, all like web internet startups and stuff like Yahoo. So, you know, it's not any different there. It's kind of like God.
but is there any relation like between you guys succeeding and kicking ass to shoes that people fiend over, or T-shirts, or other things that kind of make Asianness a little bit cooler?
I think our generation, like this generation of Asians, it tends to be more creative than the previous generation. The previous generation probably, like my sisters, they're in their 40s, right? They were like trying to be forced to be lawyers, doctors, professional things. But our generation, like, we start to explore more creative ends. Like I was watching Jeff and John Jay talking there. It was, they're starting to do creative stuff that wasn't being done like 20 years ago, and I think it's our generation starting to like loosen up and start exploring that end now, and not be stuck with what your parents wanted you to do, which is doing something professional and stable, and just trying to take a risk.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I definitely think that's true. I had an older brother, and my older brother, being the first one, it was way more restrictive on him than it was me. But in my field, like I said, we already know there's not a whole lot of Asian professional athletes in America. So me coming up in my sport, it was tough, man. Like I felt like I always had to prove that I was better than what they expected of me, And like, when I first started sparring and boxing and stuff, they would make like Bruce Lee noises, like, oh, and I'd be like, what the hell was that? You know what I mean? Like, and so, like, it was very awkward though, when I first started training, like, it'd be all Brazilians, or I would go to a box gym, it'd be all African Americans. And I remember very clearly when I first started learning boxing, it was at LA Boxing, it was a black and Latino gym, and there was a lot of racial tension between them, and they didn't know where to put me. And I got like 3 concussions like the first month, like literally. And like, so I just started telling people I was like 1/8 black.
Why? Because they were picking on you? I mean, were they picking on you or what?
No, it's like a lot of the sports are very territorial, you know what I'm saying? So boxing's like, it's very territorial. It's like, this is a black sport, or this is a Latino sport, and like, you don't fit in one of those, so, you don't belong, we're gonna get rid of you. So I'm not saying they're outwardly racist, but it was like that. Like Brazilians too, like when I started doing jiu-jitsu, it was a very Brazilian dominated sport. So like, if you weren't Brazilian, like, it was, like kind of like, all right, we're gonna see how good you really are, see if you can earn your keep. But like I said, I got around it. I just told people my name was Antoine. My great grandpa lived in Alabama.
There you
I worked for a little bit.
Well, for me, it's like, it's always just, it's not really a racial thing, it's just trying to be the best at what you do, because there's no point in being the best Asian or the best white guy or whatever, it's just, you're just trying to be the best in the market that you can be, or best at what you can do. Before we go on, turn this way, I want to see your ear.
You like that? You want to touch it?
No, but for our homoerotic
See, for all you guys in the crowd, there's a difference between a real fighter and an actor fighter.
Yeah, I did a couple fights before I broke my nose like 3 times, and I decided, that's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Pro fighting.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's I agree with what he said. Is in the end, like I don't think anybody, when you're actually in the ring or you're acting, you're not saying, I'm gonna be the best Asian I can be. I'm thinking, man, this guy's trying to kick my ass, man. Seriously, like, this guy is angry. I don't know if it's because I'm Chinese or what, man. But you don't really think about it.
Prize. There's no consolation prize if you lost, but you were the best Asian.
Exactly. I think I hit it around the head. Like, I think part of our motivation, like I said, when you're doing all the things you do, we all have to work hard at what we do. You take a certain pride in your parents, your family, whatever. But in the end, when you're out there doing your thing, you want to be the best, man. If you're not out there to be the best actor, you're not out there to be the best YouTube guy, or whatever it is, then you're in the wrong place, man. You know what I mean? Like like I said, don't get it twisted. Like I said, like being fame or whatever you want to call it, it's a huge responsibility. I never understood. Like my life changed overnight when I went on this TV show, and nobody comes out to me and says, oh, what's it like being Asian fighter? They just want to see you win. That's it. You know what I mean? And there's a huge responsibility. Same with him, I'm sure. They just want to see a good movie. You know what I mean? And that's where the pressure comes from.
And also, like, to get to where you are, you probably were doing and training for like 10, 20 years before they even ever saw you. So it's not really about the fame, because it's like, I was working on stuff for 10 years before anyone ever heard anything, really. You got to just do it because you want to do it, and then to be good at it, it does take a certain kind of knowledge, or at least the drive inside to think you could be the best, because otherwise you won't be going there, it'll be a hobby.
Yeah, just being Asian will not get you in Giant Robot.
I thought it did.
You got to pass.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
It's your Eric's cousin, that's
Yeah,
why.
Eric.
It's nepotism, it's not...
I pretty much, you know.
Anyway, I don't want to hog these guys up because this is a eclectic group of achievers. So I want to give you guys a chance
group of achievers.
to
dark.
ask some questions to any of them or all of them. If not, oh, here we go.
Do you guys think you need to try a lot harder to make it big? Because I have been doing some research about Asian American artists, and I realized that a lot of them have to actually went back to Asia to make it big, like yourself, rather than make it big in US and go back to Asia. So you have to try harder to prove yourself.
I think everyone has to, no matter who they have to try their hardest. And I think that's the thing. It's like, I don't think there's a difference for anyone who's successful who didn't like fall into it somehow. The majority work as hard as they can. So it's not really trying harder because you should be going at 100% anyway.
How
You know?
about opportunity? Like if I'm a hip hop singer, I need to find a producer. If you go and interview for the spot as an Asian American, do you think you need to like prove yourself more than an African American, for example?
I think that there's preconceived notions that people have about different stuff, but ultimately, everyone can take a different path. It could be the very first thing you ever made, or movie, or fight you ever, and someone saw you, and it's all good. Or it could take 20 years or something. But like, I think the difference is maybe walking into a room. Like they may go, that guy's a small guy, he can't fight, but then when he kicks that dude's ass, it's fine, you know what I mean? Or if I go in and hit the button and press play, it sounds great. Okay, it's fine. Maybe the 2 seconds before they actually hear or see what we do, but that's just with anybody, because you could see some guy who looks, I don't know, whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't know what they can do until they actually do it. So it's, yeah, maybe there is that moment of, well, it doesn't look normal or whatever, but I think that really applies to almost everybody.
And I think, I mean, going out to Asia doesn't necessarily mean success either. I mean, I've seen a lot of kids, a lot of ABC kids trying to go out there based on like success I've had and try to make it, and they don't work hard because they think that it's a celebrity game and not about working on your skills and talent as an actor, and they don't make it, and they wonder why. So it's not about really where you go, it's about how hard you work in general. And I think no matter where you are, you gotta work hard. You know, you gotta work hard, you gotta push yourself, always.
Right here.
So we work in entertainment, and we've been trying to tell our management that we got to get more diverse people in our networks. And every time they've come back to us and told us there's no supply of Asian actors.
They said they couldn't find a casting
There's none.
agency.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed a lot lately. A lot of the agencies are coming out to Asia, scouting people, and because they're trying to find talent. But it's weird because they're scouting people that don't speak English. You know,
There are people here
that speak English, right, and have a lot of talent.
What
So
do we
it's
tell them? How do we
this is a huge subject that you're talking about here. It's about you have to get those people in charge, the people in control, to open up their minds a little bit, and like. But it's a complicated game because the movie business is very complicated because it is nowadays more about commodity than about art, and 100%. It's all about selling. So they have to find the reason why they go to Asia for actors instead of finding people, local bred people here, is because the people in Asia already have a name, you know. And even though they don't speak English that well, they have a following in Japan or in China or whatever.
Jet Li.
Or Jet Li, right? They have a following, but I mean. Jet Li is different. I mean, he has a following all over the world, no matter what, because his skill in martial arts is different. But what was I saying?
I'll kick Jet Li's ass, man.
The reason why I ask is because I find it hard to even convince like our own internal team to find Asian American to be in the casting call. That's why I think even.
Well, you gotta fight harder. You gotta push
Yeah,
harder
we have
because
to fight
it's up to you guys.
a
It's
lot
up
harder.
because as us actors, we're totally like passive. We're not the ones that can control anything. Once we get in the door and once we start working, then we can show that we can do it. But it's people like you that are in there. You gotta push your bosses. You gotta keep pushing that. And don't give up to help us out. Please help. You know what I mean? Because it's up to you guys, really. Because those are the people in control. Those are the people in control.
There's
So
one thing, last
you gotta
thing I want to
educate
say.
them.
There's even like the latest, the most hip Disney.
Wendy Wu.
No, not when they were, what's that?
High School
High School
Musical?
Musical. The Latina main cast she's played by a Filipino. Why can't she be a Filipino in the main cast?
Yeah.
Why can't she
my
play
goodness.
herself? And she has to be a Latino because
Well, I'll just interject here. Like, I studied Asian American Studies at University of Hawaii, and we actually talked a lot about that. And back in the Olympics, like they're picking people for Wheaties boxes, and Michelle Kwan at that time had just won some serious medals, and they went with Tanya Harding or something instead. And so there's always that question, like why isn't Asians being getting the proper due? You know what I mean? And and I don't know about these guys' industry, but I'll say about my industry. I think money is everything. Money is the end all be all. And if they think they can make more money with a white face or Latino face, whatever, or image, then that's the way they're gonna go.
But it's changing though. I mean, if you were talking about the subject 10 years ago, this would be a dead subject, right? But it's changing now. You see on Lost, there's Daniel Day Kim. You're seeing more and more people on TV shows, Heroes, that guy. It's happening. 10 years ago, there wasn't that. So like I said before, you just got to help keep pushing that point. And the other thing is with China as being this emerging economy, you see that actually people see the value putting Asians and stuff. I mean, otherwise Yao Ming wouldn't be in the NBA. You think he's in there just for his skills only? I don't think so. I think because he opened the whole China market to the NBA, right? And so they're making so much more money now because every Houston Rocket game is playing in China now, and they can market that. So they see that huge market in Asia is something marketable, and that's why they're slowly starting to pepper Asians into media now.
Let's find another question. Up here.
Yeah, Dan, with the success of world music and Orishas and MC Solar, some of these other non-American hip-hop groups, do you follow? I mean, I know good music is good music, but do you see emerging Asian hip-hop groups? Are you in touch with that scene? And I'm sure there's a ton of talent in China and all over.
Well, for me personally, and you're talking just strictly about hip hop, and whatever. I'm kind of a what would be the word, purist about hip hop, and I can appreciate, for example, a lot of different trends that have been coming out more to the forefront. So say guys like Dizzy Rascal or things from England, but what I do and where I come from, it's more about New York hip hop. So that's kind of what I do, whether it's a white guy or a black guy or a Puerto Rican guy or whatever, or a Japanese guy. I've done records in the past with guys like DJ Crush and people from different countries who like cross that boundary from different directions. But as far as MCs go, I'll just put it this way: it's like there's a long way to go before a lot of these guys from the different, even like Solar and stuff, who have relatively high success, are in the, I don't say talent level, but first of all, without me speaking French, I wouldn't understand the nuance. But also, it's just like, for me, it's more of a skill sport than like a packaging or talent sport when you talk about hip hop.
All right, we got 5 minutes left, so let's pack in the questions unless you want me to blab more. Yeah? No? We got videos too. Okay. Oh yeah? Okay.
I have a question for Danny Wu in acting in China. I was in Taiwan a month ago and was in the airport and saw this very average 35, 40-year-old guy and just felt totally out of place in a place like Taipei where I almost never see Americans. He was an American guy and I had to walk up and say, what are you doing here? And he said he was an actor and he got scouted on a subway in Taipei and he's been there for 3.5 years and a very successful, highly paid actor as just the white guy. Do you see that a lot there?
In Taiwan?
Yeah.
I don't know this guy. There's a guy in China named Da San, which is Big Mountain. His name is Big Mountain. He's Canadian, and he speaks perfect Mandarin, right? And he's super famous.
This guy doesn't even speak Chinese.
Oh really?
No.
No, I don't see that. It doesn't happen that much. If it happens, it's more of a novelty. Like this guy Da San, he speaks perfect Mandarin, so the mainland Chinese people are just in awe of him, right? And it's kind of like what was happening in Japan, in the 80s when a lot of Americans went over there. And there was a bunch of white guys who could speak really good Japanese, and they'd end up hosting TV shows and all that kind of stuff. People look at them as a novelty because they're just so surprised a white person can speak the language so well. And this guy Da Shan, he teaches English, but he also teaches Chinese Chinese on CCTV9, which is the English channel there. And then he's on TV series and all that stuff. But there's only like 1 or 2 or 3 of these kind of people. It's not a trend at all.
You think there's room for more though?
It's really hard to say. Because I mean, it's tough for me being an ABC over there, and then it's for them to accept that. It's harder.
Well, you gotta go for it, man.
I really don't know if it's a trend, but if you want to try it, I mean, you do. And you know what? In Hong Kong, back in like the 80s, like Cynthia Rothrock and all those people, they got started in Hong Kong actually, and they were doing like they're like the bad guys in Hong Kong movies, which is what they always do. They always shoot white guys for bad guys.
I asked you because I was with my older brother who is an actor in New York, and he's like, it's always a constant struggle to get any work.
Right.
If all else fails, I'll just go to
No, I wouldn't suggest that really, because it'd be harder than trying to get, as a white person trying to get work in New York. I think it'd be much easier to get new work in New York than trying to get work in Asia. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that.
Oh, it's gonna be hard to find.
Unless it's for fun. I mean, unless you don't really care.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to follow that question. But I know someone's got one. Burning inside. Someone who watches Justin TV, maybe.
Yeah, you guys are making Justin feel left out, man. Come on. I got a question, man.
Yeah, Justin, where's your helmet? That's my question.
I actually gave the last one to Brian.
But I mean, shouldn't you have a camera on right now?
Hey, Justin, were you in the San Francisco Film Festival last year? I mean, this year? Were you there?
I had press passes and I was supposed to do something, but I never went.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw somebody with a camera.
It might have been one of the other, like, we had a bunch of guys around, like, now we have like 400 or 500 broadcasters on the site.
Oh, so everybody on the site's got a camera?
Well, some people we hook up with equipment, and some people just figure out their own thing, and some people broadcast, the recorded content or whatever.
So if two of you guys are having a conversation with each other, can people watch from both sides?
Yeah, exactly.
Multi-angle conversations.
That's amazing.
I got what from our last talk. What about your biggest fiasco then?
What?
Justin, your biggest fiasco from last year.
Biggest fiasco? Kind of the whole thing has been like just, I mean, literally when we went into it, we didn't know anything, like what to expect. Like I put my phone number on the site, the first day got like 1 billion phone calls. And like people set up scripts to just call me. And so I'd like answer and it'd be like, nothing. Or they connect me to my own phone line. Apparently there's a lot of stuff you can do with phones. I get text messages, like people would text message me like nonstop. And after that, kind of, I went on the Today Show at one point, and Ann Curry was just telling me to like keep my shirt on. I remember that was awkward. And then I came back, and I was like, God, she's such a bitch. And people will like clip that and put it on YouTube, and then like someone wrote like it was all over the blogs. Justin is an asshole. He called Ann Curry a bitch. And so there was that, and then after a while, we were kind of like. We just like kind of stumbled through the whole thing, and now have this site that's like really not that dependent on me. One of the cool things for me is that I don't have to be the public face of Justin.tv. Like on the site, you don't get me, but you get all these other people. It's like, so eventually Justin.tv will just be,
So you can have a normal sex life now, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can turn off the camera. People don't notice.
Cool.
That is crazy. Before, there was this one time actually when I did like turn off the camera and like put it on the room after I had this date with this girl, and people got so angry. They're like, "You're a fake, you're totally flawed."
But they wanted to see you get your groove on.
Yeah, they want to see. I mean, that's awkward. I mean, go do something. But I guess I asked for it because I put it out there.
It's strange. I was gonna say, like being those guys that haven't seen The Ultimate Fighter. Basically, what it is, they put 60 fighters house. They film us 24 hours a day. And going off what you said, it's amazing. Like people will feel like they're a part of your lives, kind of. And so if there's an episode where I wore my hat to the side, like I would get a ton of emails like, "Why do you wear your hat to that side?" Like, only like homosexuals there. So and you'd be like, man, you weren't even thinking about it, right? You're like, dude, I'm just living my life, man. And so it's amazing. Like I said, just with media. And I think all these guys have experience in media, just how far it reaches now. Like how many people watch these things. It's amazing. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, people hang on like your every action, I mean, like people remember stuff that I did like months ago. I don't even remember, which is awkward.
Yeah, that's a big difference between probably like us, where we're doing stuff that's recorded and then put it out there, and we're not there when it's played, you know, versus it totally been like being on a reality show or being on a live feed. You get this direct reaction from all these people, right? It's crazy.
Let's trade jobs. How about that? I want to be famous.
I don't want to be on a reality show though.
I don't want to get hit for real, man. You're over there jumping through like trees, man. Looks all cool.
Because I fart a lot in real life, so that wouldn't be good for a reality show.
Or really good. Yeah, I think, like agreeing with what Daniel said, I think, you know, you can tell everybody here has passion for what they do, and, you know, I think it's good, and I'm glad I met these guys, because even backstage, we were kind of talking about it, it's like, you know, we love what we do, and that should be the driving force, you know what I mean? It definitely should.
So not just pushers of culture, but just people who do your stuff well.
I think, like, me as an actor, like, I think it was Denzel Washington said this before, it's like, I don't play black characters, I just happen to be black playing a character, you know what I mean? And I think you just do your thing, you know, and the cultural thing and all that stuff will follow. People, you don't need to push it in people's faces. Because I think sometimes from my experience, if you push it in people's faces, people resist that a little bit. So just do what you do and do it well, and then people will follow. You know?
What about like X-Clan or something, you know? Like, isn't that kind of like mixing it up a little?
X-Clan? Sorry.
You know, Van Glorious, the red, black,
Oh, yeah.
green.
Yeah, we gotta pour that out for Professor X.
Blank. I'm blank.
Okay, that was a misfire. Okay, we got a question here.
I heard a rumor from Daniel, you went to architecture school?
Yeah. I went to University of Oregon for architecture.
So how was it transitioning from architecture to being an actor?
Well, actually, I have to say that if I didn't go to architecture school, I probably wouldn't be where I am today, because going to a school of creative art teaches you about having a process, about what you make. And so, like, because a lot of the actors in Hong Kong, they're not professionally trained, and so they figure out some way to do it, but sometimes they don't really understand what they're doing. And so I think, for me, having that background led me to create my own process and understand that and use that consistently, or you know, change off that all the time, and understand what I'm doing, you know. And so, like, from my very first film, I had never acted before, and I just went on a basic gut instinct from, like, when I was designing buildings, which is you start at a foundation, you build that foundation, and then you build the house on top of that. And with the same thing with a character, this character has a background, which is his foundation, and you build this person, you know, out of what you read out of the script. And it's the same process, actually. It's the same way of thinking. And I really have to thank the fact that I went to school and did that, and had that background, because it helps me what I do now. And then also, when you're directing, it's even more like architecture, because as a director, okay, you have an idea, and you put that down, you start writing it down, you make a synopsis, and then it becomes a script. And then you get all the best people you can, or the people that you like, to work for you to build a movie. You've got actors, lighting people, cameramen, all these people to put it all together for you, which is the same thing in architecture. You have an idea, you sketch it out, it becomes a plan. The plan then is something what you use to get people like engineers, carpenters, electricians, all these people to help you build this building. You know, it's the same thing, basically. You just have to learn how to flip it to something else.
Okay, I think that's a good segue to the one-on-one that's coming up. But we're out of time for these four dudes, so let's give them a round of applause for their time.